Hello and a warm welcome to The Point. 2014 elections have reflected a paradigm shift as far as the socio and political fabric of the country is concerned. But is it really a turning point in India's democracy, and what lies in future for the country? Joining me now is a senior British broadcaster, someone who's a writer and also perceived in India as knowing India much more than the Indians do. I welcome Sir Mark Tully onto The Point.
Thank you very much. But I don't know India more than Indians do.
Oh, you're being too humble, sir. But let me begin by asking you, sir, do you really see this as a defining moment for India's democracy?
No, I think that's an exaggeration. And I think that we will have to wait and see what developments are to see the extent that it marks a change. Okay. Obviously, there are some unique things about it. One unique thing about it, of course, is the dominant presence of Narendra Modi in the election. I think it is fair to say that this was Modi's election. Again, of course, this is the first time the BJP has won an absolute majority. It's the first time the Congress has been humiliated as badly as this. There's an enormous gap between the Congress and the BJP. And it's the first time we've had a majority government since Rajiv Gandhi's election.
But despite all this, you're not saying that it's a defining moment for the country?
No, because you look at Rajiv Gandhi's election, he won a huge majority and not very much changed when he was Prime Minister. And the next time an election came along, he wasn't able to form a government after that election.
But when Rajiv Gandhi came to power, there was a sympathy wave after Indira Gandhi's assassination. And this time you see a Modi wave which is totally riding on hopes, aspirations of the people who were battling with a sagging economy. So don't you think that things are slightly different on a different turf at this point?
Well, they're never exactly the same, but I would like to point out that when Rajiv Gandhi came to power, he made very similar promises to the ones that Narendra Modi is making. In that, he talked about modernizing India, he was thought of as the computer prime minister and all that. And really, the real modernization process didn't start until Narasimha Rao came. So this is why I say, let's wait and see what Narendra Modi achieves, what he does do, before we start defining where this election will stand in India's history.
But what are the biggest challenges for Narendra Modi at the moment? Of course, we'll talk about the economic front later, but battling the internal party politics, how big is a challenge for Narendra Modi as far as that's concerned?
I don't think the internal party politics are going to be a problem for him for some time.
Why do you say that?
Because his position is so dominant. And nobody can deny the doubt that he is the leader of the BJP. And he's not going to face any problem with the opposition for some time. So he's politically very secure indeed.
But sir, what is his relation? I mean, how do you foresee his relationship with BJP's parent organization, that is RSS? Do you see the relationship coming very easily between him and the RSS?
Well, I believe it was the RSS who put their foot down and said that Modi should be the BJP's prime ministerial candidate. So I think there is definitely a relationship between the two. But again, we'll have to see how that relationship affects the policy decisions that Narendra Modi takes. He has not been elected on an RSS ticket, if I could put it like that. He has not been elected to implement RSS policies, in my view. He has clearly been elected because he has offered the hope of Vyas or development and badlav or change in the way that India is run. And I think he will see these as his top priorities because he's a very clever man and he will fully understand why Indians have voted for him.
But Mr. Tully, it's very interesting because when I talk about the relationship between Narendra Modi and RSS, what we have seen in Gujarat, you've been to Gujarat, you've seen the way, the subsidiaries of RSS as an organization, they have been sidelined in Gujarat. So don't you feel that, that air of skepticism which is looming large as far as the relationship between Modi and RSS is concerned, that will be more emphasized?
Well, you know, everyone is always trying to promote suspicious, to promote the idea that there will be differences, that there will be problems and all the rest of it. I don't really like to do that myself. I think that when things are stable, I quite like to say that they are stable.
You like to begin things on a very optimistic note.
I would also point out that Mr. Modi was reasonably firm when he dealt with remarks made by Mr. Togadia, for instance, of the Vishwa Hindu Parishad. And I don't think Mr. Modi is going to welcome interventions from Mr. Togadia in the government. And the RSS is a very broad organization. And you could rightly say that Togadia and Giriraj are on the fringes of the organization. They are not central to it. So this is why I would say we have to wait and see. Obviously, Modi has a sense of loyalty and indeed affection for the RSS.
But I'm not going into the skepticism between the relationship between Narendra Modi and RSS. But don't you see some kind of a parallel structure coming up within the party when I talk about RSS and Narendra Modi, given the fact, the kind of precedents we have seen? For example, in Gujarat, you saw the Bharatiya Kisan Sabha, which is the subsidiary organization of RSS. That was being sidelined, and the farmers didn't have much of hearsay with Narendra Modi. So do you see any kind of a parallel structure coming up?
Well, what I do see is that everyone will be looking for that, which is very different to saying I see it. And certainly the Congress in particular will be looking for it because, of course, they have suffered for so long under Modi's allegations that there is a parallel power structure in the Congress, Manmohan Singh and Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi. So that people will be looking very hard for this parallel structure.
One word
but that we can't say that it will definitely occur until we see how events unfold.
But so one word which came throughout the campaign, during the debates, during the campaigns, and that was the word fascism. When you refer to Modi, I'm not going into the merits of it, that why it has been used for Modi, but the word fascism has been quite on and off been used during campaign as well as during TV debates. Do you really think that a phenomenon, fascism does exist as far as Indian politics is concerned? Do you think it really applies to Indian politics and also in the modern politics is concerned?
Well, there are two words beginning with F which are always flashed around in Indian politics. One is feudal and the other is fascist. I think fascism is an extreme form of nationalism. And it has historical connotations as well. And I think at this stage, to compare anything that has happened in India with, say, Hitler or Mussolini is totally unwarranted at this stage, certainly. And I believe and very much hope that it will remain unwarranted.
So you're really wanting to be very optimistic at the very start when Narendra Modi is going to begin an innings. But Mr. Tully, I'll have to take a short break here. But when we come back, we talk more about Narendra Modi and also Congress as a political party. Back in a moment. Welcome back. You're watching To The Point with Sir Mark Tully. Mr. Tully, talking about the way campaign shaped up in 2014 elections. Do you really see it as a marked shift from the elections of yesteryears? You've seen elections happening since 1967 in India, and there was a period in 1951 where the first elections were held. And how do you see it as? Do you see it as an evolution? Do you see it as a moment which needs much more corrective measures? How do you really see it?
Well, I wasn't here in 1951, certainly. But
no, which is why I said that you've seen elections since 1967.
Yes. I personally think that this is a unique election. Of course, in a way, all elections are unique. And I certainly think that it is an election which has been dominated by one person. And we haven't seen that really to this extent since the heydays of Indira Gandhi, I would say.
But when you say, sir, that this election was dominated only by one person, for all the reasons, like media also captured Narendra Modi, but was it also because Congress could not capture that space? Was it really because of that as well?
Yes, it was, to a very considerable extent. My own view, and I've written this, is that Congress chose completely the wrong sort of campaign for their election campaign. Modi was offering a dream of a bright new future. Congress were looking back to their past assets. They were looking to the Gandhi family. They were looking to Mrs. Gandhi's Garibi Hatao type of policies.
Which were cliched things for the electorate.
Well, I wouldn't say they were cliche things, but they were not the issues that they were under Indira Gandhi. And they were not presented well enough in that way. And also, of course, they raised the old bogey of secularism versus communalism. And people didn't believe that.
Right. But so you mean to say that the electorate did not find resonance with Congress as far as the freshness of the campaign was concerned?
Yes, as I said, they had a looking back to the past type of Congress, and a Modi presenting a dream of the future. And also it has to be admitted that Congress's main candidate, Rahul Gandhi, did not match up to Modi in the attention he managed to achieve or the impact that he made. That is absolutely clear.
But did you also had some kind of an inkling? You had covered elections. I mean, you also traveled throughout India. Did you also have an inkling of the magnitude to which Congress had been decimated with just about 44 seats, not even reaching the 50 mark? Did you also have an inkling in the hindsight that Congress will come to a figure like this?
No, I did not have an inkling of that. In fact, my thought was that Congress might do a little bit better than people thought they would. I never thought Congress would do well, but I didn't think they would do this badly. But I did get an impression that Congress was not, didn't really have their heart in this election. You had those senior ministers who were unwilling to fight. You had at least a couple of ministers who refused to fight altogether. When I was in Lucknow, I had an interesting experience with the Congress spokesman, because when I asked him how things were going, I expected him to tell me, oh, they're going fine, we're doing well, and not trying to argue me into believing that. But what he said was, we've been here before. Just let me finish. He said, what he said was, we've been here before. We've lost badly before, but we've always made a comeback. So they really weren't fighting properly, I don't think.
So did they accept defeat from a very early stage, or they were in a denial mode throughout the campaign? How would you assess?
No, well, this is what I'm saying, that I think that they felt that they had been defeated from the start. And I must say that although I don't think he was very successful, one does have to give Rahul Gandhi the credit for going on and on fighting right up to the very end.
But Mr. Tully, do you really see this as a rejection of the Congress ideology as well? Do you really see that?
I think it is a rejection of one part of the Congress ideology. I think it is a rejection...
But when you say one part, what does it mean?
Well, the one part being the Congress contention that it stands for secularism and the BJP stands for communalism. And as Sonia and Rahul often said, the BJP will break this country. I think it stands for a rejection of that. Of course, if, and I say if very carefully, if the BJP were to move far towards their Hindutva agenda and all that, then maybe Congress could revive that issue. But in my view, during this election, that issue did not play out.
But do you see that the definition of secularism per se, did you see that as a changing phenomena in the country for this election specifically? The changing definition of secularism?
Well, I don't think we've got a changing definition in secularism yet. I rather feel we probably need a changing definition of secularism, but I don't think we've got it yet, because the Congress came up with the same tired old arguments as before.
Right. But Mr. Tully, Congress still looks to be prevalent in a denial mode. Recently had Congress Working Committee. Not much of accountability was held on to the senior leadership. Now the chorus is growing louder for bringing Priyanka into the fold. So do you think things will really change if Priyanka is brought on the forefront of Congress?
Well, I think this just shows how little the Congress are facing up to their problems. It means that they're still totally dependent on the Nehru Gandhi family. And this, I think, is one of their fundamental problems. And if they are going to insist that their party will break up, unless the Nehru Gandhi family is at the head of it, then I think the Nehru Gandhi family needs to realize that they have to behave in a very different way to the way they have behaved historically.
Experts see the Nehru Gandhi family as that one glue which is binding the party together. But do you feel that it's the strength and the weakness both for the Congress?
Well, it is like the cornerstone in the arch, apparently. We've seen what happened in Narasimha Rao's time when the Congress party did not support him properly in spite of all his achievements. But the question now is, if you insist that they are the glue, the cornerstone, then what should be their role? And their role, in my view, should be far less to be in command of the party, to have far less of this whole high command attitude, and to allow state parties to develop and to throw up good, strong leadership. Because that is what the Congress party needs.
But Mr. Tully, when Rahul Gandhi came up with his experiment of the primaries, that experiment was seen as something which will take the wind out of the high command culture. But do you really see that happen? Because the experiment didn't seem to take off, and here you see Congress, which is completely decimated. So where is the party heading then?
I think you must face the realities of Indian politics. And the realities of Indian politics are that no party in this country flourishes without a single determined leader. And you saw this with the BJP, interestingly, because when Vajpayee was the unquestioned leader, BJP flourished. Advani never managed to establish that position. It floundered. Modi comes and it's flourishing again. Now, the Congress ought to be seen, as the BJP is seen in a way, as a federation of parties. Right. And that means that in each state in that federation, you need to have one man who people say, this is Mr. Congress in UP. Right. This is Mrs. Congress, maybe in Bihar.
One strong leader who can actually unite the whole party.
And leave him to run the party.
Okay. That's an important point you're making, and Congress obviously has to go back to the drawing board to redraw their strategy completely. And so we'll have to wait and watch how this whole thing shapes up. I'll have to take a break here, Mr. Tully, again. And when we come back, we talk about the decimation of the regional parties, especially in the north. Back in a moment. Welcome back. You're watching To The Point with Sir Mark Tully. Mr. Tully, as far as the political convulsions were seen in the north, especially the regional parties, or rather I would call it the caste parties, the Samajwadi Party, the BSP, the way they were decimated, do you really see this as an erosion of caste politics completely now?
No, I don't think so, because I think there were caste politics involved in the BJP's victory. For instance, what it appears as though the movement of the Jat caste from Ajit Singh, their traditional loyalty to him, moving to the BJP also. And people in the BJP told me that they had done their calculations so that there were leakages, as they put it, from the traditional castes who voted for these caste parties. But I do think that the caste parties handled their position quite badly. I think, for instance, it's very significant that the Socialist Party, only people who got elected were members of Mulayam's family. Well, if you're going to put a whole lot of your family in the election, what does that do for the party? What does it make the party feel? That we're just sort of chokras or knockers of Mulayam Singh's party, you know. And Mayawati was very strange. She didn't really seem to campaign.
But when you talk about this as a phenomena, don't you see this as an erosion of caste and the currency of class politics? I mean, people, more aspirational middle class is rising. People are rising with more aspirations. The newer middle class I'm talking about. Don't you think that they found resonance with Narendra Modi's campaign rather than, gluing on to the campaigns of Samajwadi Party and BSP?
I think, especially in India, you have to be very careful about describing dramatic changes or giving the indication, for instance, that caste politics is over or community politics is over. There is no doubt, for
So
instance.
if Mayawati is listening to you, she'll be a happy woman today. She has not.
She may be. But if you just look at one of the things, look at the SP, for instance.
Right.
There's no, people in UP tell me that definitely one of the reasons that the SP Yadav constituency was not entirely happy with the SP was that the SP had given special facilities to Muslims, like, for instance, scholarships for Muslim girls.
Right.
So one of the factors was this, which is really nothing to do with caste, Now, I wouldn't deny that India has become far more aspirational, and I think that was why the message of Modi went home to a lot of people, because, after all, Modi was very much, as I said, offering a dream, an aspirational dream. So I think for that reason, yes, there was a leakage of caste, but I don't think politicians are now going to say, well, let's throw all our caste calculations away and let's just try and fight the election in a completely new way.
Yeah, in fact, but the way Amit Shah redrew the entire politics in Uttar Pradesh is something very interesting. And don't you think that communal polarization in India's political history for the first time played such an important role?
I think that there was an element of communal polarization in Uttar Pradesh.
But that became the main repertoire of politics in Uttar Pradesh.
No, it didn't. This is the whole point I'm making. The other repertoire was Modi, Vikas, Badlav, and all that meant to people, and particularly, I think, to younger people. It's quite wrong, in my view, to say this was entirely due to communal or anything like that.
But some people would definitely see Modi's campaign as a deft combination of Mandal, Mandir and development. So that's how he scripted the victory.
But that is not saying it was just Mandir.
Okay.
This is the point.
Okay.
There was an element of Mandir in it. Mandir came in absolutely blatantly in when he had that meeting just near Ayodhya.
Right. But did you see that as a deliberate attempt to bring up Hindutva in the entire campaign? Because that was the first reference he made to the Mandir construction.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, what else can you think of it if he talked like that in Faizabad? There was an element of bringing this in, yes. But, it's important not to be swayed too much one way or the other. Be stupid to deny there was any element in it, but equally stupid to say it was all about that.
But communal polarization for electoral gains, do you really see this as a dangerous trend in politics? Again, you're saying that you would not comment immediately on it as a dramatic phenomena, but do you really see it as a dangerous trend in politics? Because people would know that, yes, communal polarization is working. Political parties would say that is working. So they would probably in the future elections also use this.
Well, I think it's, yes, obviously, if communal polarization became totally dominant, it would be very dangerous. Personally, my own feeling is that mixing religion and politics in any sense is dangerous. Okay. It's dangerous for religion because it gets religion a bad name, and it's dangerous because of the antagonism between religious communities that is produced by this. So yes, I would say mixing religion and politics is not the right thing to do.
But talking about the Hindutva agenda, and now since BJP has the numbers, BJP is very comfortably placed, it's a dominant party in parliament. Do you think that now RSS is going to put pressure as far as the agenda of the abrogation of Article 370 is concerned, construction of Ram Temple, uniform civil code. Do you see Modi listening to RSS on these fronts to carry forward the Hindutva agenda?
Well, I'm sorry to keep on saying this, but I think we'll have to wait and see. There are problems for him in doing this. There are particularly legal problems, of course, with the Ram Mandir. Right. There are problems over India's relationship with Kashmir. Well, Kashmir, of course, is part of India, but the relationship between Kashmir and the rest of India, there are.
So you mean to say that Modi very well knows that he will be playing with fire if he touches these things just to appease RSS?
I'm certain that Modi knows there are difficulties in doing this. Okay. I'm certain he knows that. Whether he wishes to overcome those difficulties, it would be very stupid of me to say he does or he doesn't.
Thanks very much, Mr. Tully, for coming on to the point. Thanks.